But what do you say to those who say that the CBN's cashless policy is failing because the operational platforms are not as functional as they thought it was going to be? What you needed to do was to strengthen that first, see how it succeeds before you talk about this, because by the way, they say this is at variance with your cashless policy.
Your cashless policy is one of the most, is growing at, our cashless policy is growing at a great rate, and the statistics are there. You can now make payments using your mobile phone. If you have a card, you can go to any other country and draw money. I was in Argentina a while back, and the Nigerian took me to the ATM, and he inserted his Nigerian ATM card and drew peso from the ATM. I mean, these are things that have happened. We have cleaned up the banking system. There's a lot that is happening, and let's not be cynical of our progress. Nigeria is making great progress, and the central bank is there to continue to make progress. This is just one of the things that we're doing. We are creating funds, intervention funds. We're just using our small window that we have for development to help improve agriculture, to help improve aviation, to help improve energy. We've added hundreds of megawatts of electricity to our grid. And these are the things that we are doing. We are creating a robust payment system. We are introducing the real-time gross settlement system.
The federal government now.
And it goes on and on and on.
Well, perhaps maybe this time we should just quickly talk about the amount of money budgeted for this particular project for next year before we come back to Mr. Boyo. Very quickly, like the average life of the $100 bill in the United States is 90 months, approximately 7.5 years. So how much lifespan would you be given this 5,000 naira note, just in case it finally sells through the assembly?
What kind of lifestyle, what kind of longevity they want for their notes. That's why we want them to respect the notes. Don't use it to spray. They will insist on spraying. They will fold it and put it in their pocket. And we're asking them use wallets. So it is a question you should ask Nigerians. We are telling them, please, it's important to respect the naira. And you know what we've done in that area, and you've been of help in the media to publicize this. Nigerians will go ahead and spray and march on the currency and treat it with disrespect. What we're saying is that it is our symbol. It is a thing of pride. And it is how long we want it to stay that it will stay.
So he can't answer the question.
Sometimes you see a currency note, you bring it out, and the same moment people just sample on it, butchers will just spill blood on it and all that. Now we think that when you have the 5,000 naira note, people are going to treat it better because they know that it's of high denomination. It has nothing to do with money supply. If you have 5,000 naira note, it doesn't increase the money supply at all. So let's not confuse this. There is nothing inflationary about having a high denomination note. They have a 100,000 naira bill in America. It's legal tender. It's not being used right now, but it's legal tender if it is presented. It is collector's item. They have 10,000. They have 50,000. They have the 1,000 naira dollar notes. And everywhere in America, they use the $100 notes. And everybody uses it. That's about 15,000, 16,000 naira.
Please, not just butt in here. You spoke about the CBN mopping up liquidity and the CBN not borrowing money. But let's quickly take a look at what you mean by mopping up liquidity. How does the CBN mop up liquidity from the economy? Because here the CBN is saying that on one end, banks are not borrowing, are not lending, even though they have given out some money in some cases, in some critical cases. What it seems is happening is that people are taking money on the other hand, or people who have the wherewithal, rather than put it into production, are using their money to buy up treasury bills when they know that they're going to get at least 15% in terms of interest rates at the end of the day. So how exactly does the CBN mop up money by itself, if not through these other institutions?
When, at the end of the month, when you have the meeting of FAC, that's the federal allocated funds, and money is shared out, immediately the money is pushed into the system. And we are charged with creating financial stability. Now, the banks, when these things go into the market, we suck them out of the system. And when there is tight liquidity, we push them into the system. That's an open market operation. That is not the treasury bill that we are talking about. The people who are borrowing are totally different. That's a fiscal thing. And whoever is telling you that is misinforming you. That it is the federal government that issues the treasury bills that borrows money. What we are doing is that we are maintaining stability in the system, and we're working with the banking and with the banks, specifically to mop up liquidity, not to borrow. Please. Right, and he knows whoever is, I don't know the person because, you know, I'm on phone and I'm not watching. But please let him be very, very truthful to you.
All right, Mr. Ugochukwu Okorafor, we have to thank you very much. We're really out of time. We have to go now. Ugochukwu Okorafor is the Director of Media, Central Bank of Nigeria, speaking to us via phone about the CBN's policy. Well, he said so much there, but I was just thinking off my head. I mean, I didn't hear him make reference to any sort of research. CBN, I presume, should have a research department, because if he says if there's 5,000 naira note, Nigerians handle it better, is it because he says did they handle 1,000 naira?
Just let me add to that, because that was why we asked him the question, because in the United States they did an extensive research to the extent they said the $100 bill will have a lifespan of 90 months, approximately 7.5. So we didn't get any answer. So I don't know if there's any kind of research work that before now has been done in our previous naira bills.
Well, I think the CBN has a research department, no doubt about that. But the quality of their output is debatable, because obviously you don't have to have been a research expert to know that it doesn't make sense to borrow money you don't need at 15%. I mean, a research department, you don't need a research department to tell you that. And if at the end of the day you have been doing this for years, and you say you don't have a faulty monetary framework, you are misleading the people, because you believe that they don't understand and they don't know.
Well, but in clear terms, he has said very clearly that the CBN doesn't borrow money from, you know, they'll just mop up liquidity.
I want you to explain the CBN doesn't borrow money and mopping up of liquidity. It is basically the same
But
thing.
how does the CBN borrow money?
By selling treasury bills. Simple. I mean, I'm surprised that I'm having to educate you, because at News at 10 every day you say so, or once every 2 weeks or something like that, you say so, that the CBN has helped the banks to manage their liquidity by borrowing money they don't need at 15%, because really they tell you they don't need it. It's mopping up. It's an excess funds existing side by side with a situation where there is no money for the real sector to borrow.
Yeah, but
it is. No, look, let me tell you something. You have to understand that having the issue of higher or lower denominations, as the case may be, is the result of monetary policy success or failure. In our case, it is failing, and it is failing because the model is defective, is destructive to the economy in such a manner that when you become richer by earning more dollars, you end up becoming poorer, because the process of infusion of that money into the system creates a ripple that makes it necessary for central bank to borrow money it doesn't need at 15%.